17 black celebrities who married women to hide their true sexuality. What if some of the biggest black celebrities in history were hiding secrets the public was never supposed to know? Behind the fame, luxury, sold-out concerts, and smiling red carpet photos, many of these stars were quietly battling fear, pressure, and identities they believed could destroy everything they had built. Some entered relationships that looked perfect to the world, while privately living with emotional conflict for years. From legendary musicians to Hollywood actors and sports icons, these stories reveal a painful side of fame rarely discussed publicly. And trust me, some of these revelations shocked even longtime fans. So stay until the very end, because one celebrity on this list may completely change the way you see them forever. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below on Memory Lane Black People. Little Richard. Before the world knew him as the explosive force behind rock and roll, Little Richard was a young man trapped between fame, religion, and identity. Born Richard Wayne Penniman in Macon, Georgia in 1932, he grew up in a strict religious household where being different was rarely accepted. Yet even as a child, his energy was impossible to contain. With loud vocals, flashy clothing, heavy makeup, and unmatched confidence, he would eventually become one of the most influential performers in music history. In the 1950s, Little Richard changed American music forever with classics like Tutti Frutti, Long Tall Sally, and Good Golly Miss Molly. His wild performances inspired legends including Elvis Presley, James Brown, Prince, and the Beatles. On stage, he looked fearless. Off stage, however, his life was far more complicated. During an era when homosexuality could destroy a career, Richard struggled deeply with his sexuality and religious beliefs. In 1959, he married Ernestine Harvin, and many believed the marriage was an attempt to fit society's expectations. For a while, the couple appeared happy and even adopted a son together. But the emotional conflict inside him never disappeared. Their marriage ended in divorce in 1964. Over the following decades, Little Richard moved constantly between music and religion, sometimes openly discussing attraction to men, other times condemning homosexuality while trying to reconnect with faith. Those contradictions revealed a man fighting himself behind the spotlight. Despite worldwide fame and millions of records sold, true peace remained difficult to find. When Little Richard passed away in 2020 at age 87, he left behind more than legendary music. He left the story of a man who transformed entertainment while quietly battling the pressure to hide who he truly was. Jason Collins. For years, Jason Collins looked like the perfect example of strength, discipline, and success in professional sports. Standing 7 feet tall, the former NBA center built a respected 13-season career playing for teams including the New Jersey Nets, Boston Celtics, and Washington Wizards. He reached the NBA Finals twice and earned a reputation as a dependable teammate willing to sacrifice personal glory for the team. Away from basketball, Collins also appeared to have the perfect personal life. He spent nearly 8 years in a relationship with former WNBA player Carolyn Moose, and the couple eventually became engaged. Friends and fans believed marriage was only a matter of time. But behind the public image, Collins carried a painful secret he had hidden most of his life. At the time, professional sports culture placed enormous pressure on athletes to appear traditionally masculine. Fear of judgment inside locker rooms and from the media kept many players silent about their real identities. Collins later admitted he spent years trying to convince himself he could live the life others expected from him. In 2009, just months before the wedding, he ended his engagement to Carolyn Moose, leaving many confused by the sudden decision. Then, in 2013, Jason Collins changed sports history forever. Through a powerful Sports Illustrated article, he publicly came out as gay, becoming the first active, openly gay athlete in the 4 major North American professional sports leagues. The announcement shocked the sports world, but it also inspired countless people struggling with similar fears. Collins later explained that hiding his identity had been emotionally exhausting. Basketball gave him fame and financial success, but honesty finally gave him freedom. His story became more than sports news. It became a symbol of courage, proving that even in environments built on pressure and silence, truth can still break through. Wanda Sykes. For decades, Wanda Sykes made millions laugh with her fearless humor, sharp intelligence, and unforgettable voice. Long before becoming one of America's most respected comedians, however, she lived with a private conflict that few people fully understood. Born in Virginia in 1964, Sykes built her career step by step, first working for the National Security Agency before taking a chance on stand-up comedy. That decision changed her life forever. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, she had become one of the most recognizable black female comedians in the entertainment industry. To the public, Wanda appeared confident and completely in control. In 1991, she married music producer Dave Hall, and from the outside, their relationship seemed traditional and stable. Yet privately, Sykes was struggling to understand her true identity while living under the pressure of public expectations. At the time, openly discussing sexuality in Hollywood, especially as a black woman, still carried enormous risks. The marriage eventually ended in divorce in 1998, years before Wanda publicly revealed the truth about herself. In 2008, during a rally supporting same-sex marriage rights in Las Vegas, Wanda Sykes officially came out as gay. The announcement immediately became national news, not only because of her celebrity status, but because very few major black entertainers had spoken so openly at that time. Soon afterward, she married her partner Alex Needbalski, and together they later built a family raising twins. What makes Wanda's story powerful is not scandal or controversy, but honesty. Behind the laughter was a woman who spent years trying to fit into a version of life society expected from her. Eventually, she chose peace over performance. Today, Wanda Sykes is remembered not only as a brilliant comedian, but as someone who proved that living truthfully can become the greatest freedom of all. Lee Daniels. Lee Daniels built a career telling some of Hollywood's most emotional and complicated stories. But for many years, his own personal truth remained hidden behind the success. Born in Philadelphia in 1959, Daniels grew up facing hardship, violence, and painful experiences that would later influence the raw emotion found in his films. Long before becoming an Academy Award-nominated director, he struggled to survive in an industry where being different could quietly destroy opportunities. By the early 2000s, Daniels had established himself as a rising producer and filmmaker with projects that challenged race, poverty, and family trauma. His breakthrough came with the 2009 film Precious, which earned 6 Academy Award nominations and pushed him into Hollywood's highest circles. Yet while his professional reputation grew stronger, Daniels still understood the pressure many black entertainers faced when it came to sexuality and public image. Earlier in life, Daniels had relationships with women and often avoided speaking directly about his private life in public interviews. Hollywood executives, media pressure, and fear of rejection created an environment where silence sometimes felt safer than honesty. Over time, however, Daniels became more open about being gay and spoke candidly about the emotional cost of hiding parts of himself while building his career. He later entered a long-term relationship with casting director Billy Hopkins, and together they raised Hopkins' niece and nephew as family. Daniels also described himself as sexually fluid, acknowledging that his life and identity were more complex than simple labels. Rather than creating scandal, his honesty gave audiences a deeper understanding of the man behind films like Precious, The Butler, and Empire. Lee Daniels' journey reflects the quiet pressure many celebrities faced behind closed doors. Success brought him fame and recognition, but embracing his truth brought something far more personal: freedom from pretending to be someone else. Frank Ocean. Frank Ocean entered the music industry quietly, but once people heard his voice and songwriting, it became impossible to ignore his talent. Born Christopher Edwin Breaux in 1987, he first worked behind the scenes writing songs for stars such as Justin Bieber, Beyoncé, and John Legend, before stepping into the spotlight himself. Unlike many artists chasing attention through controversy, Frank built his reputation through emotional honesty, mystery, and deeply personal music that connected with listeners on a different level. As his popularity grew in the early 2000s, Frank Ocean became one of the leading voices in alternative R&B. Yet behind the success was a man carrying fears about identity and acceptance, especially within hip-hop culture, where conversations about sexuality were often met with harsh criticism. For years, Ocean kept his private life hidden, choosing silence over risking his career at a moment when he was only beginning to rise. Then, in July 2012, just before releasing his critically acclaimed album Channel Orange, Frank Ocean shared a deeply personal open letter on Tumblr. In it, he revealed that his first love had been a man. The message was calm, emotional, and painfully honest. Rather than creating scandal, it changed the music industry overnight. Fans and fellow artists praised his courage, while critics recognized the moment as a breakthrough for LGBTQ+ visibility in modern black music. What made the confession powerful was not shock value, but vulnerability. Ocean did not present himself as a symbol or activist. He simply told the truth after years of silence. That honesty gave even greater meaning to his music, especially songs centered on heartbreak, loneliness, and emotional confusion. Today, Frank Ocean remains one of the most respected artists of his generation. His journey reflects the reality many celebrities face behind fame, the fear that revealing their authentic selves could cost everything they worked for. Instead, for Frank Ocean, honesty became the very thing that elevated his legacy. Niecy Nash. For many years, Niecy Nash was known as the warm, funny, and charismatic actress who could light up television screens with her personality alone. Born in California in 1970, she built a successful career through comedy, hosting, and acting, appearing in popular projects such as Reno 911, Claws, and When They See Us. Audiences loved her confidence and humor, but behind her public image, life was far more complicated than most people realized. Throughout much of her adult life, Niecy Nash followed the traditional path society expected. She married Minister Don Nash in 1994, and together they had 3 children before divorcing in 2007. Years later, she married electrical engineer Jay Tucker in a highly publicized ceremony that was even featured on reality television. To fans, she seemed to represent the image of a successful woman living a conventional family life. Then, in 2020, Nash shocked many people when she announced her marriage to singer Jessica Betts. The news spread quickly across social media and entertainment headlines because few expected the actress to enter a same-sex marriage after years of public relationships with men. Rather than framing the moment as a dramatic revelation, Niecy explained it in a calm and deeply personal way. She stated that she had not changed who she was, but had finally found someone she truly loved. Her honesty resonated strongly with many middle-aged women who understood the pressure of living according to expectations instead of personal truth. Nash later spoke openly about discovering new parts of herself later in life and refusing to let public opinion define happiness. What makes her story powerful is its emotional maturity. Niecy Nash did not reinvent herself for attention. Instead, she chose authenticity after decades of playing roles both on screen and in real life. In doing so, she became a symbol of personal freedom, proving that it is never too late to live honestly and love without fear. Karamo Brown. Before becoming one of television's most recognizable voices of compassion and self-acceptance, Karamo Brown spent years struggling to understand his own identity while trying to meet the expectations placed on him as a black man in America. Born in Texas in 1980 and raised in a strict household, Brown often felt pressure to appear strong, traditional, and emotionally controlled. Long before fame arrived, he was already fighting a private battle between who he truly was and who society expected him to become. Karamo first gained national attention in 2004 on MTV's The Real World Philadelphia, where he became the first openly gay black man in reality television history. At the time, representation of openly gay black men on mainstream television was extremely rare. Although his appearance made headlines, life behind the cameras remained emotionally complicated. Brown later admitted that before fully embracing himself publicly, he had relationships with women and often tried to suppress parts of his identity to avoid judgment from family, society, and even within black communities where discussions about sexuality were often difficult. One of the biggest turning points in his life came unexpectedly in 2007, when he learned he had a 10-year-old son from a previous relationship with a woman years earlier. The discovery completely changed his future. Instead of running away from responsibility, Karamo stepped forward and embraced fatherhood fully. He later adopted his son's younger brother as well, building a loving family while redefining what masculinity and parenthood could look like. As one of the stars of Netflix's Queer Eye, Karamo became known for helping others heal emotionally while openly sharing his own experiences with insecurity, shame, and self-acceptance. His story resonates deeply because it is not built around scandal, but growth. Behind the fame was a man who once felt trapped between fear and truth. By finally choosing honesty, Karamo Brown became more than a television personality. He became a symbol of healing, responsibility, and living authentically despite years of pressure to hide. Don Lemon. For years, Don Lemon delivered the news with confidence, intelligence, and authority, becoming one of the most recognizable faces on American television. Born in Louisiana in 1966, Lemon built his journalism career through determination and discipline, eventually rising to prominence at CNN. His direct interviewing style and willingness to discuss controversial social issues helped him stand out in a highly competitive media industry. But while he spent decades reporting the truth to millions of viewers, there was one truth about himself he kept hidden from the public. During the early years of his career, television news remained an environment where image mattered deeply. For a black journalist especially, there was often pressure to appear traditional and avoid anything that executives feared audiences might reject. Lemon later admitted that he dated women and carefully guarded his private life while climbing the professional ladder. Fear of damaging his career and public reputation kept him silent for many years. Everything changed in 2011 when Don Lemon released his memoir, Transparent. In the book, he publicly came out as gay and spoke openly about the emotional exhaustion caused by hiding his identity for so long. The decision immediately drew national attention because very few major black male journalists had discussed their sexuality publicly at that level of visibility. Some praised his courage, while others criticized him. But Lemon no longer wanted to live divided between his public image and private reality. Over time, he became increasingly open about his life and relationships, eventually marrying real estate agent Tim Malone in 2024. Beyond television, Lemon also used his platform to discuss racism, homophobia, mental health, and inequality within American society. What makes Don Lemon's journey powerful is the contrast between public strength and private fear. For years, he appeared completely in control on television screens across America, yet behind the camera, he carried the burden of hiding who he truly was. His decision to speak honestly transformed him from simply a news anchor into a symbol of personal courage and authenticity. James Baldwin. James Baldwin was more than a writer. He was a voice that challenged America during some of its most divided and painful years. Born in Harlem in 1924, Baldwin grew up surrounded by poverty, racism, and strict religious expectations. As a young black man trying to understand both his identity and his place in society, he often felt trapped between fear and truth. Long before the world recognized his brilliance, Baldwin already understood that living honestly in America could come with a heavy price. In the 1950s and 1960s, Baldwin became one of the most influential literary figures of his generation through works such as Go Tell It on the Mountain, Another Country, and The Fire Next Time. His writing explored race, loneliness, love, religion, and sexuality with a level of honesty that shocked many readers at the time. While much of society avoided conversations about homosexuality completely, Baldwin confronted those subjects directly, especially in his 1956 novel Giovanni's Room, a groundbreaking story centered on love between men. Earlier in life, Baldwin had emotional relationships with women and even considered marriage. But as he matured, he gradually became more open about his attraction to men and his refusal to let society place him inside simple labels. Rather than calling himself strictly gay or straight, Baldwin often spoke about identity in broader and more human terms. That honesty made him both admired and criticized during an era when being openly queer could destroy careers and reputations. Beyond literature, Baldwin became an important voice in the civil rights movement, speaking alongside figures such as Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. Yet even while fighting for racial equality, he still faced judgment from both black and white communities because of his sexuality. When James Baldwin passed away in 1987 at age 63, he left behind more than books and speeches. He left a legacy of courage. His life reflected the painful reality many public figures faced, hiding parts of themselves to survive while searching for the freedom to finally live truthfully. Robin Roberts. For decades, Robin Roberts has been one of the most trusted faces on American television. Calm, warm, and deeply respected, she built her career through professionalism and quiet strength rather than controversy. Born in Alabama in 1960, Roberts first gained attention as a talented sports broadcaster before becoming a beloved co-anchor on ABC's Good Morning America. To millions of viewers, she represented stability, kindness, and resilience. Yet behind that public image, there was a private struggle she chose to keep hidden for many years. As a black woman working in television news during the 1990s and early 2000s, Roberts understood how carefully public image was monitored. At a time when openly discussing sexuality could still affect careers, especially in mainstream broadcasting, she remained extremely private about her personal life. While rumors occasionally surfaced, Roberts avoided discussing relationships publicly and focused instead on her work and growing reputation in journalism. Everything gradually changed after she faced serious health battles, including breast cancer in 2007 and a life-threatening bone marrow disease called myelodysplastic syndrome in 2012. During that difficult period, one person remained constantly beside her: Amber Lane, her longtime partner. As Robin became more open about the support she received during recovery, the public slowly learned the truth about her personal life. In 2013, Roberts publicly acknowledged her relationship with Amber Lane for the first time. The announcement was quiet and heartfelt rather than dramatic. Instead of creating scandal, it was met with overwhelming support from viewers who admired her honesty and dignity. Years later, the couple officially married in 2023 after nearly 2 decades together. Robin Roberts' story is powerful because it reflects a generation taught to protect private truths in order to survive professionally. Behind her calm smile on television was a woman carefully balancing career, public expectations, and personal identity. By finally choosing openness, Robin Roberts showed that authenticity does not weaken respect, it often deepens it. Lil Nas X. Before Lil Nas X became one of the most talked-about artists in modern music, he was simply a teenager trying to hide a part of himself he feared the world would reject. Born Montero Lamar Hill in Georgia in 1999, he grew up in a deeply religious environment where conversations about sexuality were often filled with judgment and discomfort. Like many young people raised under those pressures, he spent years convincing himself that his feelings were only temporary and something he could eventually overcome. In 2019, Lil Nas X shocked the music industry when his breakout hit Old Town Road became a global phenomenon. The song dominated the Billboard Hot 100 for a record-breaking 19 consecutive weeks, turning him into an overnight superstar. Yet while his career was exploding publicly, privately he still carried anxiety about revealing his true identity. Hip-hop had long been viewed as one of the least accepting spaces for openly gay artists, and many feared coming out could permanently damage success. For a period of time, Lil Nas X carefully maintained a more traditional public image online, avoiding direct conversations about sexuality while his fame continued growing. Then, at the height of his success in June 2019, he publicly came out as gay. Instead of making a dramatic speech, he subtly encouraged fans to listen closely to his song, C7 Osier, which hinted at finally embracing freedom and truth. The announcement instantly became international news. Some praised his bravery, while others criticized him harshly, especially online. But Lil Nas X refused to retreat. Over time, he transformed into one of the boldest voices for LGBTQ+ visibility in modern entertainment, openly challenging stereotypes within rap culture through music, fashion, and public appearances. What makes his journey powerful is not simply fame, but timing. He chose honesty at the exact moment he had the most to lose. Behind the humor, confidence, and viral success was a young man terrified that the truth might destroy everything he had built. Instead, authenticity became the reason millions connected with him even more deeply. John Amaechi. John Amaechi spent much of his professional career living between two worlds. On the basketball court, he was known as a disciplined and intelligent NBA center who played for teams including the Orlando Magic, Utah Jazz, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Houston Rockets. Off the court, however, he carried a deeply personal secret that he believed could threaten everything he had worked for. Born in Boston in 1970 and raised partly in England, Amaechi entered professional basketball during an era when conversations about sexuality in sports were almost non-existent. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, the culture inside professional athletics often demanded strict ideas of masculinity. Locker rooms could be harsh environments filled with pressure, fear, and constant judgment. To survive within that world, Amaechi kept his private life hidden and carefully controlled the image he presented publicly. Although he occasionally appeared socially connected to women, he later admitted that much of his silence came from fear of rejection and career consequences. After retiring from basketball, Amaechi made a groundbreaking decision. In 2007, he publicly came out as gay while promoting his memoir, Man in the Middle. With that announcement, he became the first former NBA player to openly discuss being gay. The revelation immediately sparked major conversations throughout professional sports, because very few athletes had spoken openly about sexuality at that time. Amaechi later explained that hiding such an important part of himself had been emotionally exhausting. While fans saw physical strength and confidence on the court, internally he often lived with anxiety and isolation. By finally telling the truth, he found a freedom that basketball alone could never provide. Today, John Amaechi is respected not only as a former athlete, but also as a psychologist, author, and speaker who encourages honesty, leadership, and emotional well-being. His story reflects the quiet struggles many athletes faced for years behind the public image of toughness and perfection. Da Brat. Da Brat was once one of the most successful female rappers in hip-hop. But behind the fame and confidence was a woman hiding parts of herself from an industry known for harsh judgment. Born Shawntae Harris in Chicago in 1974, she rose to fame during the 1990s after being discovered by producer Jermaine Dupri. Her debut album, Functified, became a massive success and made history by becoming the first solo female rap album to go platinum. With her baggy clothes, fearless attitude, and aggressive flow, Da Brat quickly stood out in a male-dominated genre. Yet while her public image appeared bold and untouchable, her private life remained guarded for many years. Hip-hop culture during that era was often extremely resistant toward openly gay artists, especially black women. Da Brat later admitted that fear of public backlash and career damage kept her from openly discussing her sexuality. Although rumors followed her throughout her career, she chose silence over confrontation while trying to protect the success she had worked so hard to build. Everything changed in 2020 when Da Brat publicly confirmed her relationship with entrepreneur Jessica Judy Dupart. The announcement surprised many longtime fans because she had spent decades avoiding direct conversations about her personal life. Rather than turning the moment into controversy, Da Brat spoke emotionally about finally feeling free after years of hiding. She explained that she had never intentionally lied to the public, but had simply been afraid of losing support and acceptance. Later, the couple married and openly shared parts of their life together online, becoming one of the most recognized LGBTQ+ couples in black entertainment. For many fans, seeing Da Brat embrace happiness openly after decades of silence carried deep emotional weight. Her story reflects the pressure many artists once faced in hip-hop, where image could determine survival. Behind the tough lyrics and fearless persona was someone quietly carrying fear for years. By finally choosing honesty, Da Brat transformed from simply a rap pioneer into a symbol of authenticity and personal freedom. Raven-Symoné. For much of her life, Raven-Symoné grew up in front of television audiences while carefully protecting parts of herself from public scrutiny. Born in Georgia in 1985, she became famous at an incredibly young age after appearing on The Cosby Show, before later becoming one of Disney Channel's biggest stars through the hit series That's So Raven. Funny, energetic, and naturally charismatic, Raven became a household name for an entire generation. Yet behind the success and laughter was someone struggling with the pressure of fame and identity from an early age. As Raven moved from child stardom into adulthood, rumors about her sexuality frequently appeared in tabloids and online discussions. However, she avoided labels and remained extremely private about her personal relationships for years. Growing up inside the entertainment industry placed enormous pressure on image, especially for young black actresses expected to maintain a carefully controlled public persona. Rather than openly addressing speculation, Raven focused on protecting her career and personal peace. In 2013, after same-sex marriage became legal in several states, Raven publicly acknowledged her support online and confirmed her relationship status more openly. Still, she resisted allowing the media to define her identity completely. In interviews, she explained that she preferred not to be boxed into labels, choosing instead to focus on being herself rather than fitting categories created by others. A major turning point came in 2020 when Raven-Symoné married social media manager Miranda Pierman Madej. The actress appeared happier and more comfortable publicly than ever before, openly discussing love, mental health, and the emotional challenges of growing up famous while hiding personal truths. What makes Raven's journey emotional is the contrast between public joy and private pressure. Audiences watched her entertain millions while quietly carrying fears about acceptance and judgment. Over time, she stopped trying to meet everyone else's expectations and chose authenticity instead. In doing so, Raven-Symoné became more than a former child star. She became an example of growth, self-acceptance, and emotional freedom after years spent hiding behind a carefully managed image. Lena Waithe. Lena Waithe built her career telling honest stories about identity, race, and human struggle. But long before Hollywood recognized her talent, she spent years trying to understand herself in a world that often demanded silence. Born in Chicago in 1984, Waithe grew up loving television and storytelling, eventually turning that passion into a groundbreaking career as a writer, producer, and actress. Over time, she became one of the most influential Black creatives in Hollywood, helping create projects that explored subjects many studios once avoided. Her breakthrough arrived with the Netflix series Master of None, where her deeply personal episode, Thanksgiving, earned her an Emmy Award in 2017, making her the first Black woman to win for outstanding writing in a comedy series. The episode, inspired partly by her own experiences, explored the emotional difficulty of coming out within a Black family and resonated strongly with audiences around the world. Unlike many celebrities who publicly addressed their sexuality early in their careers, Waithe spent years carefully protecting her private life while navigating Hollywood. As a Black woman entering an industry filled with pressure and stereotypes, she understood how quickly people could place limits on careers. Over time, however, she became increasingly open about her identity and relationships, eventually marrying executive Alana Mayo in 2019, before the couple later separated. What makes Lena Waithe's story powerful is not scandal, but honesty. Through both her personal life and creative work, she helped normalize conversations about LGBTQ+ identity within Black communities and mainstream entertainment. Rather than hiding behind public expectations, Waithe chose to tell stories rooted in emotional truth, even when those truths were uncomfortable. Today, Lena Waithe is recognized not only as a successful filmmaker, but as someone who quietly changed representation in Hollywood. Behind the awards and success was a woman who once feared judgment, yet ultimately found freedom by embracing exactly who she was. Carl Bean. Carl Bean lived a life defined by faith, music, and the difficult journey towards self-acceptance. Born in Baltimore in 1944, Bean grew up during a period when both society and the church strongly condemned homosexuality. As a young Black man raised in a religious environment, he often felt trapped between spiritual expectations and the truth about his identity. For many years, he struggled quietly, trying to balance both worlds without losing himself completely. Bean first gained national attention through music, most famously with his 1977 disco anthem, I Was Born This Way. At a time when openly gay artists were still rare, the song carried a bold message of pride and self-acceptance that resonated deeply within LGBTQ+ communities. While the track later became an underground classic, Carl Bean's impact extended far beyond music alone. Earlier in his life, Bean reportedly experienced pressure to maintain a more traditional image, and at times entered relationships with women while wrestling internally with fear, religion, and social judgment. Like many Black public figures of his generation, survival often meant silence. But eventually, he chose honesty over hiding. Rather than abandoning his faith, Bean reshaped his spiritual journey and became one of the first openly gay Black religious leaders in America. He later founded the Minority AIDS Project in Los Angeles, helping support Black communities during the devastating AIDS crisis of the 1980s and 1990s. Through activism, ministry, and public speaking, Bean dedicated much of his life to helping people who felt rejected by both society and religion. What makes Carl Bean's story unforgettable is the emotional conflict he carried for decades. He was a man trying to remain faithful while also learning to accept himself completely. By the time of his death in 2021 at age 77, Bean had become more than a singer or activist. He had become a symbol of dignity, compassion, and the courage to live truthfully despite years of pressure to remain hidden. Jussie Smollett. Before controversy overshadowed his public image, Jussie Smollett was widely recognized as a talented actor and singer whose career seemed destined for major success. Born in California in 1982, Smollett began acting as a child, before eventually rising to national fame through the hit television drama Empire. Playing the role of Jamal Lyon, a gifted musician struggling with sexuality and family acceptance, Smollett earned praise for bringing emotional depth and vulnerability to the screen. Ironically, the character mirrored parts of his own life. Long before becoming a television star, Smollett had privately struggled with identity and public expectations while growing up in the entertainment industry. Although people close to him knew about his sexuality, he spent years carefully navigating Hollywood while protecting his personal life from excessive attention. As a black actor in mainstream television, he understood the pressures surrounding image, masculinity, and acceptance. In 2015, during interviews promoting Empire, Smollett publicly confirmed that he was gay. Unlike dramatic celebrity confessions often designed for headlines, his announcement was calm and matter-of-fact. Many fans praised the honesty, especially because openly gay black male actors were still underrepresented in major television roles at the time. His openness helped inspire conversations about representation, particularly within black communities and entertainment culture. For a period, Smollett appeared to represent a new generation of celebrities more willing to live publicly without hiding who they were. His growing fame, musical ambitions, and activism positioned him as an important cultural figure. However, his career later became heavily damaged following the highly publicized 2019 legal controversy surrounding false reports of a hate crime attack. The scandal dramatically changed public perception and overshadowed much of his earlier work and advocacy. Even so, Jussie Smollett's story still reflects the difficult balance many public figures face between identity, fame, pressure, and public judgment. Behind celebrity image and success was a man trying to navigate visibility in an industry where acceptance has often come slowly and conditionally. These celebrities had fame, money, and worldwide admiration, yet many of them spent years hiding the most personal truth about themselves. Some feared losing their careers, others feared rejection from family, fans, or society itself. Looking back now, it's heartbreaking to realize how many stars felt forced to live double lives just to survive in entertainment, sports, and music. But here's the question that still divides people today. Were these celebrities protecting their privacy, or were they trapped by the harsh expectations of their era? From Little Richard to Jason Collins and Frank Ocean, every story reveals a painful side of fame rarely discussed publicly. Which celebrity's story shocked you the most? And do you think society has truly changed today? Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to Memory Lane Black People for more untold celebrity stories.